So I posted a video, my favorite books of 2021, like a month ago. And today we're back. We're going to go over those books and read some 1-star reviews for those books and discuss and react and just have a good time. I've done this video before, reacting to 1-star reviews of books that I love, but so have loads of other people. And when I do a video concept that is kind of common in the YouTube community, I try to go ahead and post other creators that have done it as well in case you like this and you want to continue watching this stuff. So there will be some other creators who also react to 1-star reviews of books that they love down in the comments. No, down in the description. I am going to restrict this since there were 7 books that I had on my favorites list. One was a sequel. I had Bone Charred Daughter and Bone Charred Emperor on there, so I'm gonna cut Bone Charred Emperor out because it's a new release and it's a sequel. So we're only gonna be doing 6 books today, and since there's 6 books, I'll limit myself to like 2, I would say, is fine. So that we're not here all day. I'm also going to limit myself to only short reviews so that we're not here all day, and only spoiler-free reviews so that, you know, you're safe to watch this whole video, even if you haven't read the book yet. So the first book on my favorites of the year list, I started at number 7, worked my way up to number 1. We'll go ahead and do that again, that order again this time around. So the first book was The Posthumous Memoirs of Brás, Cubas, which is a Brazilian classic, and it is a very unique, weird book. It was so lovely. Let's see what people hate. Seems overrated to me. I quit it after reading more than a third of the way through. Too much happening around and incoherent blabbering. Well, I mean, that's fair. The book jumps around so much and it's a wild ride, and incoherent blabbering is fair. Honestly, half the time I was reading it, I was thinking, what am I even reading? What are you even saying? But that's the humor. And there's so much goodness in it too. It's fine. I get it. You're fine. This review just says, it's finally over. Oh, I'm so sorry that you hated it on that level, but that is a great review. Next is The Frenchman's Creek, which is another classic. Daphne du Maurier is one of my favorite authors, and The Frenchman's Creek is probably my favorite of her books, even though I admit it's very different from her other books, and it has many flaws, and it is one of her least popular books. So I understand. I get it. I don't care. Pirates. And Daphne du Maurier's immersive, gorgeous, amazing writing mixed with pirates. I can't care about the flaws. I tried to read this book, but the writing was so bad, I couldn't make it through the second chapter. Oh, we actually have a wrong review. I think that everybody is allowed to hate everything. You can hate whatever you want. If you don't like a book, more power to you. But you can't say that Daphne du Maurier's writing is bad. I actually don't know how. You can hate this story. It makes sense. You can hate the main character. She makes terrible decisions. You can hate the plot. It's wildly convenient and doesn't work if you think about it too hard. You can hate every other character including the main character. You can hate so much about this book. But the writing is Daphne du Maurier. She can plot a novel, and she can tell a really, really, really interesting and great story, and she can write, man. She can write. She has such immersive, gorgeous prose that draws you in so that even if you don't like the story and you don't like the characters, it's a wonderful reading experience. And I don't understand, if you're gonna criticize this book, how are you going to criticize the writing? That's the thing that makes the book as glorious as it is. I actually don't think this is correct. I don't understand. I don't mean it when I say this isn't correct prose, and what you enjoy in a book is obviously all subjective and you can like what you like, but also how do you not like du Maurier's prose? Okay, that's fine. Everything's fine. I swear this book by Daphne du Maurier left me scratching my head in bewilderment, to say nothing about people's concept of feminism. Feminism? I don't really think this was a feminist book. Rebecca was great, as was my cousin Rachel. Absolutely, yes. I only saw the film version of The Birds, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about that. Jamaica Inn, not so much. Now, hang on. I understand that Jamaica Inn is also one of her least popular books. And I understand. I understand. I do. My buddy read this with a friend and she didn't like it at all. But also, I really like Jamaica Inn. Okay, it's all right. This was worse than Jamaica Inn. Okay. This novel makes me wonder if du Maurier suffered from some sort of literary split in personality. I agree with another reviewer who put this on the same level with Harlequin novels. I also believe that, yes, there is something wrong with liking Harlequin novels. Is that more romance? Are you just rude? Hence the title of the review. What's the title of the review? This book should have had Fabio on the cover. That's stupid. No, it shouldn't have. Hence the title of my review. This book must be the reason why du Maurier is relegated by some in the category of author of romance novels. No, it's because she was a woman writing in the time she was writing, and that's just the way. It's fine. Or to use George Eliot's term, silly novels written by silly authors. What? Silly novels written by lady authors. Now, before the usual suspects indulge in predictable outrage, allow me to remind them politely that George Eliot was a 19th century author whose real name was Mary Ann Evans. So? Who cares that a woman said that? That's still rude. Whatever, that review wasn't fun. If you like Harlequin, I don't know what that is. If you like Frenchman's Creek, you and I can be silly ladies reading silly lady novels, and we will enjoy it. We will be happy. Okay, so next we will look at the Ember Blade, which I can understand why people will hate on this book. I love it. It's a modern fantasy written in the last couple of years, I don't know when, and it is blatantly reminiscent of The Lord of the Rings. Chris Wooding wore his inspiration on his sleeve. There are like scene by scene, I see The Lord of the Rings here, but he still managed to make it his own. His prose, the way he described the world was so beautiful, but it is The Lord of the Rings, a modern take on it. So, you know, if you're not into that, here we go. I can't stress enough how annoyed I am with myself for picking up this book after a recommendation on YouTube. Was I the one that recommended it? I hope so. It's a great book. Let's start. 1. The first several chapters are pure exposition, boring as it sounds. I mean, fair enough. The beginning of this book is a little bit rough. It definitely could have been condensed. After the first third, I still loved it, by the way. After the first third of the book, I can tell it's quite pointless to have the two main characters be different people. Would disagree. Did you DNF? Yeah, he DNF'd. I understand thinking that in the beginning. Sort of, kind of, not really. 3. This story, up to where I got, feels like large chunks of it were taken straight out of Lord of the Rings. I mean, yeah, totally. It's true. 4. There is inconsistencies in character development. Maybe. I don't really remember noticing that, but sure, maybe that's true. The prose is okay. Yes, it is. The author really likes the world and think we should too. The book can easily be skipped in my opinion. Okay, so fair enough. Wooding is a bit indulgent in his world building, but truthfully, I read authors like Sanderson. I love Patrick Rothfuss. Well, the first book especially. The Scott Lynch. You know, the authors that I love are indulgent world builders a lot of the time. And while that's not necessarily my thing all the time, I actually felt like Chris Wooding, while I could recognize you love your world, I also loved his world, so I was happy to read about it. And his world building was far less than many of the other authors that I read. So to me, his world building felt like, yeah, we totally don't need all this, but you're doing fine. You're doing fine. But with all that said, fair enough. I mean, he could have condensed a lot. This is definitely a book that could have been trimmed down. I wasn't mad about the length, but fair. First third was amazing. That's funny. You have the opposite problem of the guy before you who hated the beginning And that's funny. But when it switched genres and became a Lord of the Rings ripoff, yeah, totally, it does. You're right. The first third of the book, or like the first quarter maybe of the book, is properly unique. And then once they get through something, then it kind of just shifts into Lord of the Rings, but a modern take on it. And fair enough. If that's not your thing, that's totally understandable. I love the Lord of the Rings. And I'm not saying these people don't, but I really enjoy reimaginings of something, of such an iconic story. Then at the 2/3 mark, it switched genres once again and became a heist story. I mean, this part was pretty good despite it not having anything to do with the first 2/3 of the books. Well, that's just not, that's not, it does. It's cohesive, but I get it. The author is clearly a talented writer. He's great at torturing his characters, which makes for great storytelling. This story, however, are you a fan of Robin Hobb? If you think that makes good storytelling, you must like Robin Hobb. This story, however, was not a cohesive whole. Plot, genre, POV, character goals, these must be consistent throughout. Okay, two people that say that certain things, motivations, character stuff was inconsistent. I clearly missed something. Fair enough. I was just along for the ride. I really wasn't being hypercritical with this book because I was so illusioned, which is funny because this review said that he was disillusioned. But I was so swept up in it. I was so caught up in it just suiting me just right. So, I mean, fair enough. I didn't have my critical hat on, so I probably missed some stuff. I don't recommend this book, but I might take a look at others by this author. Hey, I'm about to read another one of his books. I've forgotten the title. Hang on. Retribution Falls, which is Sky Pirates, so you should read it too. I can't recommend it yet, but, you know, I'm gonna read it. Next reviews are going to be for The Bone Shard Daughter, which is, gosh, it's a hard one for me to summarize quickly. 5 perspectives, 2 of which are the main perspectives. So we have an empress who's lost her memories and who is trying to get them back so that she can, or rather the daughter of an emperor, so that she can rise up and be the empress and learn bone shard magic, which she needs to learn in order to rule her kingdom, which sounds really generic, but it's actually pretty cool. And Javis, who is a smuggler in the kingdom that the other one rules. That's really bare bones, but I've talked about this book enough that hopefully you kind of have an idea of what it's like. Okay, The Bone Shard Daughter. 5 POVs. 5? Nah, man. Totally fine. Totally understandable. There are 5 POVs. One of them is very vague and doesn't get expanded on until, well, that's not true. It gets expanded on in this book, but not until the end of book 1 and then really expanded on in book 2. It's totally fine. It's a funny review though. This book was fine, but the characters were boring and the world was kind of lifeless. Also, bone shard magic is both boring and way too complicated to understand. Now go write a book about Methy on his own adventures without humans to drag him down? That book I'd read. Me too! That sounds wonderful! Methy is a companion type character. I probably don't need to expand on who that is, but I would read that too. He's probably the best character in the book. I understand feeling that the characters were boring in this book because while I enjoyed them in book 1, she definitely improves her character work in book 2. And the world being lifeless, I disagree with. I think the world is really well constructed, but she doesn't have a very immersive writing style, so it's kind of hard to picture it and really fully step into it. I think she gets better in book 2. She's still not, you know, I'm a very immersive reader. Writing an environment that I feel like I've stepped into when I read is one of my favorite things, which is why I'm such a huge fan of Du Maurier. And she doesn't accomplish that, especially not in book 1. She's better in book 2. So I totally understand that. Both of those things are important to me too, and I agree that they are weaker points in her writing. Bone shard magic being both boring and way too complicated to understand, I don't quite understand that one. But that's fine. Fair enough. Fair take. Next we'll do reviews for One Piece, which is a manga, a shonen manga, and it's about pirates on adventures. It's an amazing crew, emotional highs and lows. I really like it. This was cute, is what the review is titled. All my friends rave about this series, so I figured I would check it out. It was childishly simple plot-wise and had a kind of after-school special feel, but it was cute and enjoyable. Read more than the first volume. I think that's fair for the first volume, but read more. It is cute, and it is so much more. Just kidding, read what you want, but I am one of those readers that's like, read more and see what the series has to offer. 1 star, characters with unsettling proportions shouting exposition. That is super fair. Oda is a weird guy, and he writes his character designs in weird ways. He will come up with the most strange character types. Oh my goodness. It is weird. It's very jarring at first. I have come to love it. All right, final book in my list of favorite books and final book we'll be talking about in this video is A Man Called Ove, which is literary fiction about a man who is grumpy and tired and over life and over people and just wants to be left alone to be a grump. And then, you know, you fall in love with him and it's the best story ever. Let's see what people hate. This was a book recommended by a member of my book club. I struggled to get through a quarter of the book. Another friend told me that you have to plow through to get the nuggets. Someone can give the page number with the nuggets. No one should have to plow through a book to get some good things. Many people like this book. I am not one of them. Well, my golly, I agree with you. No one should have to do that. That is a really bad way to pitch this book. I would say it's Bachman has slow setups. And so in the beginning, you're just doing day-to-day life with Ove, and then you get kind of a shift where the rest of the book, you get a close look into his very being. So I would say the beginning is slow and fair enough that you aren't attached in the beginning, but it gets better, which I know is a really annoying thing to hear about a book that you're not enjoying. That was a terrible pitch by your friend. In the spirit of full disclosure, I have only read the opening pages of the book. Actually, only page 1. That said, let me explain why I only gave it 1 star and quit reading. Ove, we are told on page 1, is a grumpy old man of 59 years old. He's curmudgeon-y and inactive. He's sour. He knows nothing about technology and doesn't want to learn. Ove could be Ebenezer Scrooge. Life is a humbug. Here's the problem. I'm 59 and I don't know anyone my age like that. I'm told there are such people like that, but they're 79, not 59. Bachman is only 35 and Swedish. Maybe 59-year-old Swedes are like Ove, but none of my pals are. I'll use me as an example. I'm a Marine Corps vet. I'm writing this on a MacBook Pro. I own every tech platform out there, Kindle, iPad, iPhone, and Apple Watch. I run a fitness program and do intense exercise 8 to 10 times a week, sir. That seems like too much. I've run 18 full marathons and 45 half marathons and 124 triathlons. My last full marathon was last year when I was at the ancient age of 58. Next year, I'll run 2 more half marathons. Good for you, friend. I think that's great. I'm glad you're taking care of yourself so well. This year, I started working on my PhD. Good for you. I don't think I'm exactly typical, but I don't think Ove is even close to being representative of my age. None of my buddies from high school are Ove. Boy howdy, I did say I would keep it short, but that one was kind of entertaining. Fair enough. My in-laws are super active and fit. They run marathons and they're in their 60s probably, maybe. Maybe I shouldn't say that unless I know. But you know, they're in that age category too, and they run marathons and they're super fit. My mother-in-law is actually a personal trainer and I go to her fitness classes and both my husband and I get fitness advice from her. My mother-in-law also is not tech savvy and doesn't really know how to use anything technological. But my dad is super tech savvy, way more than I am. So, you know, it is what it is. Different people. I guess it's fair to be bothered by the 59-year-old age of Ove. I think that's fair. That probably is too young. I guess it didn't register for me because I am Ove. Not the hates life bit, but the technological bit. Before I had my son, I was still using a flip phone because I hated the idea of carrying around a little computer. I wanted my phone to make calls and make texts, and I used my computer when I wanted a computer. I refused to own any techie stuff because I hated learning new systems, and I'm still that way, actually. I still hate learning new systems and will keep something way far past its expiration date technologically. Something techie way past its expiration date because I hate learning new things for technology. In fact, you can even ask my mods on my Patreon. I don't even know how to run my own Discord, and usually if I try to do something, I end up messing it up and making everything worse. So I guess for Ove, yeah, he's 59, but also this book was written, you know, over a decade ago. And so different time, tech was, you know, a lot, not newer, but a lot of the things that Ove is adverse to are newer at that point. And I am that way now. So a 59-year-old being that way didn't surprise me. But it's probably true. Ove is probably not representative of your average 59-year-old. I've probably spent too much time on this review. It got a chuckle out of me. I thought it was kind of funny. Something I didn't notice. Maybe that age is wrong. What did we do to deserve this? I'm confused. I never know where the writer wants us to be in this mashed potatoes of a story. Too many flashbacks, if that's what they were. I felt my life flashing before my eyes for sure. Save your time and your money. That is a great review to end this video on. That is hilarious. What did we do to deserve this? Oh man. A book that will make you exclaim, why? What have I done to deserve this book? That is rough. But also, mashed potatoes are delicious, so win-win. There you go. Those are some 1-star reviews for some of my favorite books of this year. I thought this was fun. I hope you did too. Feel free to chat with me more about it in the comments. Do you hate my favorite books too? It's okay if you do. I post videos every Tuesday and Friday. I'll see you again soon. Bye.